The advances of the Victorian era brought a new age of exploitation and engineering to the early 20th century. As trains, boats, and planes grew more sophisticated, people were able to travel to more distant and dangerous lands. In 1910, Captain Robert Falcon Scott set sail for Antarctica, hoping to be the first man to reach the South Pole. But when Scott and his team of 4 men set out on the 284 kilometers trek to the pole, they were plagued by unusually bad weather. Nearly 3 months later, they reached the pole, but they were devastated to find the flag of a rival Norwegian ex- ex- expedition expedition already flying. Their morale plummeted and they began increasingly weak. None survived the journey back. Scott was considered a hero by many, but others believed the tragedy happened because he hadn't planned the trip properly. Sir Ernest Scarleton set out in 1914 on an attempt to become the first to walk on the way across Antarctica through the South Pole, but it soon became a matter of survival when his ship, the Endurance, became frozen in pack ice of the Arctic coast. Scarleton and his crew watched in horror as the ship was crushed to pieces, leaving them marooned on a huge island of ice with only limited rations. Nearly 5 months passed before the ice broke up enough for the men to launch the lifeboats and reach the nearest island, but they found it deserted. Shackleton picked a small team of to set sail with him to the island of South Georgia to get help. As they battled the treacherous waves of the South Atlantic Ocean, previous navigation was crucial, but bad weather meant they were only able to take readings from the stars 4 times on the 800 miles journey. They made it to South Georgia unharmed and set out with supplies to reduce the rest of the crew. 4 months later, Shackleton saved them all. Since the turn of the century, engineers from all over the world had been competing to invent the perfect power flying machine. In 1903, the Wright brothers from America became the first to get off the ground. Soon after, lots of people were taken to the skies. The first Briton was on an engineer called Edwin Burden-Roe. One of his later designs was used extensively by the military in the First World War. At the start of the 20th century, the British were world leaders in ship design. In April 1912, the White Star Line new ocean liner RMS Titanic set out on its first or maiden voyage across the Atlantic. The Titanic was the world's largest and most luxurious passenger steamship. It was also considered to be unsinkable, but the unsinkable happened. The Titanic hit an iceberg and sank. There weren't enough lifeboats for all the passengers, but about 1,500 people died. It was one of the worst ever disasters at sea during peacetime.